Uh, Hello, everyone, and welcome to this version of our weekly Catalyst meditation. And as you know, we've been starting our weekly um, with me in spotlight. So I guess I should do that. And starting it with our um, uh, not informal, less formal than usual, pre-meditation discussion on a topic. And I hope that's valuable for people. I like having something that as we are going into our meditation, we can um, hold energy with and for. Um, and so we're going to do that now. Um, our topic is releasing the shadows, embracing the light. Because I recognize several names on our list here, there may be folks who have done Shadow to Light before. We did this for 3 or 4 years uh, prior to 2020. Um, the pandemic put a major wrinkle in everybody's life and put a major wrinkle in that. And I've been thinking about dusting Shadow to Light off again. Um, if you did Shadow to Light in your local church or with me, if you put a note in the chat box where you did it and what year you did it, if you can remember. It's back in prehistory. Um, so I want to, and that is true for those of you who are live right now. It's also true for anyone who is watching this either on the live stream or these segments are being packaged as a separate video. And so if you're watching it on a standalone video and you were part of Shadow to Light, let me know that. The Shadow to Light came because we were then, as we are now, focused in the wrong direction. We spent all of our time focusing on semi-problems, semi-constructs, semi-issues, and we don't focus enough time on the things that are really prevalent for us. What are our major issues in this society? And then when you pay attention to the 12 global challenges, what are the major issues from a global perspective? So the notion of Shadow to Light was to look at um, what holds us back. And as this was true in 2015 and 2016 and 2018, and when I did the rest of the Shadow to Lights, it's true now that the thing that's holding us back is us. We focus on our weakness, we focus on our fears, we focus on our smallness, we focus on those people over there who are doing all of this stupid stuff, and we need to stop them, and we need to have demonstrations, etc. And it looks like you have activity when you don't. It's a lot of heat but no light. There's no the energy for actually transforming our society is not there. um I was paying a little attention to the demonstrations that happened this past week, um, the anti-Trump demonstrations, and was feeling, and again, this is my impression of them, but I talked to a number of people and it said it felt sad, it felt empty, it felt like, oh, we've been saying this stuff for a long time and nothing has changed. And I think it's time for us to do things differently. Now, that's what Commonway has been about, and it's been about for 35 years. How do we do this differently? Now, the thing that's supporting us is that this is a real live process, and that this is a real live exercise in how do we build a new society. This is birthing a new society. And in that birthing process, we have if you know the birthing process, you know what comes next. It's that many of us don't believe we're in a birthing process. And so that from their process, from their point of view, it just looks like they're dying. It looks like society is dying, and people are getting downright fatalistic about it. Oh, there's nothing you can do. Oh, the administration's crazy. Oh, and you go through all this stuff and you come up with nothing on the other side. Now, if you know that you are having a baby, you do things differently. And the thing that you know is if you've been involved in the process, I was there as a spectator. And yes, my ribs still hurt, so don't make me laugh. Um, yeah, so sneezing is not a thing you want to do when you got cracked ribs, and laughing doesn't help a lot. So I'm going to have to be more solemn today. And so when you're having a baby, you know the process. You know the process is difficult, inconvenient, painful, messy. I said inconvenient already. And when you go through all of this stuff, you get a baby out of it. And when you go through all that stuff and you get the baby's worth it. I think I told this story before, but if I didn't tell the story before, I'm going to tell it again now. When my wife, my first wife, and I were having our first child, um, uh, when she went into labor, and she was in labor a very short time, but that in that short time, she made a whole bunch of promises to me, like, I'll kill you if you do this again to me. This is all your fault. And and she had the baby. Okay, and she's rocking a baby. But 2 or 3 weeks later, she's breastfeeding the baby, and she says, "Let's do this again." And I said, "Did you remember the yelling, the screaming, the promising, and And she looked at me and she said, "No." Now, I don't think it's that she actually forgot the experience. It's just that this experience um, reduced down to insignificance when she got the prize, when she got the baby. We got a really big prize ahead of us, and this is a new civilization, a civilization founded on principles that go to the absolute heart of what it means to be human on this planet, that go way beyond the things that we stopped at a few years ago, called democracy, etc. And I, for one, can't wait to get there. But there's an awful lot of stuff that's holding us back from that. And this is the point of releasing the shadows, embracing the light. That if we can get past the things that are blocking us, we've got an amazing possibility in front of us. And the amazing possibility is to, first of all, be the first group of human beings that acts like one species on this planet. Right now, we don't act like one species. Right now, we act like all of us are separate in our little corner on the planet. We act like we're all hostile to each other. And we've been doing that for a while. There are people who say, "Oh, the problem is capitalism." We've been doing that way before capitalism was ever thought about. Okay. How long have we been acting like other human beings are either your property or your lunch? And how long does it take for us to recover from that? How long do we spend trillions and trillions of dollars on more and more weaponry simply because the thing that sits in our heart that's fearful of all others, it cannot be resolved by buying more weapons. The only way that you can possibly resolve that is by going into and looking at the nature of your heart. And we don't want to do that. We just want to buy another aircraft carrier. And so the process of shadow to light, we looked at the four main shadows that are plaguing. This is true around the world, but this was aimed for America as a target. So these are targets that are talked about from an American point of view. And I've told my friends around the world, I will do that with them and look at their main shadows, which will be the same thing, but will be talked about differently. And then the four lights. What are the things that will light us up as a humanity, so that when you get these four things, you can say, "Oh, we now have a human civilization that works for all living beings." So let me share with you the four themes, and that's right here. And let's put this over here. And they are the shadow of violence. And even if you say, "Oh, I live in a safe neighborhood, I live in a safe city, I live in a safe country, etc., that shadow still permeates our society. It's something that you always have to address. It's why you've got, highly armed individuals dressed in blue, cruising your neighborhoods, except in the neighborhoods where you wished you had them. And violence as entertainment, violence as proof of manhood, violence as I've got nothing else to do with my time, so therefore I'm just going to beat somebody up or wind up getting beaten by somebody. What happens when the entire shadow of violence is lifted from a society? So that's our goal. The second shadow is the shadow of the other. And by the other, I'm talking about all of the various aspects of separation in our world. One aspect of separating from human beings, from a group of human beings, is not better or worse than another aspect. Anytime you've got separation, you've got the shadow of the other, and you don't understand something fundamental. And that fundamental thing that you don't understand is that we are one. And when you think you can kill somebody over here, cut off their food supplies over here, cut off their trading over here, if you can do whatever you feel like doing to them and it doesn't come back to you, you better think about that again. The third level is what I call the shadow of lack. And that includes poverty and greed and hoarding. When you have resources far beyond your capacity to even spend them, when you've got resources that rival the resources of an entire country, there's something fundamentally wrong with that. Now, I call it money addiction. And money addiction is the only form of addiction where the addictive substance is left in the control of the addicts. And that's how we have the economic system we've got, which creates poverty because it also creates greed. And once we can recognize that all of this, that having billions of dollars is simply a sign that you are in lack, that there's something wrong with your heart, okay? Once we see that, we'll be able to do things a different way. And then the last of the shadows is the shadow of despair. And that's the shadow of depression, despair, suicide, self-harming behaviors. This, unfortunately, now is a multi-billion-dollar industry of selling pills to people who are deeply disturbed. And the pills don't work, so you get to sell them more pills. It's pretty amazing. Okay, that's all the yucky stuff. Let's talk about where we're going. And where we're going is the four lights. So while we have the shadow of violence, when we remove that, we wind up getting the light of peace and security. And you have to say it that way too. There is no peace unless you've got security. There can't be any security unless you have peace. And so that's something that we should be focused on. Now, the second is the light of inclusive community. Now, inclusive community does not mean a homogenized community. It doesn't mean that everybody is the same. There should be, and I hope there will be, and I intend to maintain radical differences between people. I like our differences. That makes interesting conversations. As long as you're not holding to a position that makes that by your position, you're making somebody else wrong or bad or evil. Uh, I don't listen to cowboy music. I also don't listen to rap music. It's not my deal. Um, I I actually don't like it played around me, but people do what they want, do what they want to do. And that doesn't stop you from being in my community. So when you lift the shadow of lack, whoops, and I've got all sorts of stuff going on. When you lift the shadow of lack, you see the light of abundant enoughness. And by abundant enoughness, we're not talking about um, I've got to be a multi-billionaire. That's the only way I can be happy is to be a multi-billionaire. Um, I was I was doing as you know, I do um, consulting and training with organizations from time to time. And I went into a workplace and they had just had take your child to work day. Okay. Used to be take your daughter to work, but you got to take everybody to work now. Um, and they asked them to put on a wall, what do they want to be when they grow up? And they were thinking they were going to put things on. I want to be an engineer like my father. I want to be an asphalt spreader like my father. I want to. And they put, well, the first one put in, I want to be a millionaire. And the second one said, I want to be a multimillionaire. And the third one said, I want to be a billionaire. And then the next, I want to be a multi-billionaire. Now they have no idea what a millionaire or a billionaire is. They just heard that you have a whole lot of money and you can do anything you want. And then you strive hard, you become a millionaire, you become a billionaire, and you realize that that's not true. You can't do whatever you want. Okay, so the last one, in terms of instead of the shadow of despair, we have the light of deep fulfillment, the light of where if you know how to be happy, and I don't mean hee hee ha ha entertainment, turn the TV set up, go to the movies, um, but how to be deeply fulfilled in yourself so that um, it's what I call the good tired. When I go to bed, I want to be really, really tired, but I want to think, yes, I did today what I needed to do. The whole world is better because I did what I did today. And as many people, including my creditors, know, that doesn't necessarily mean I made any money. It means that I have a level of satisfaction that is uh, that is good for me. Um, so let me now see what we've got to. Oh, we got one more slide I'm going to go through, and then we'll be right at the bottom of the hour, and it'll be time for me to get set up for our catalyst meditation. So I am going to show you this. So let's look at how the shadow affects us personally, and then let's look at how the shadow affects us in terms of our society. On the personal level, your shadow keeps you small. It keeps you unenlightened. It keeps you really manageable, which is why There's so many people who spend so many billions of dollars to keep you afraid. It keeps us from being able to perceive reality as it is. It magnifies our fears. It embellishes our fears. It keeps us from the path of greatness. Um, Someone was saying this to me recently, like when you look at the turn of the century, you could look at the people who shaped our societies, and they were not multi-billionaires. Um, there were two guys who made their money um, making and selling bicycles, and they thought they could make an airplane. They thought they could make a heavier than air flight possible. And everybody laughed at them, and everybody laughed at them, and then he stopped laughing. Um, the shadow makes you self-destructive. And when you see the people out here who are self-destructive, who can't function in society, in any society, this is where it comes from. People stay angry, and sometimes they don't even understand why they're angry. Uh, People stay disempowered. People stay depressed and numb. On a societal level, though, people are create a society based on fears and insecurities. Welcome to America. A society that perpetuates injustice, society that is fundamentally unsustainable, a society that is immoral. And I mean that not necessarily in the biblical sense, but a society that is against its own levels of morality. A society that is mindless. It just does AI is mindless. Why do we have so much AI? It's technology and it just got shoved down your throat. I hope you enjoy it. Um, and we have a suicidal society, a society where we know we're about to hit our limits, we know we're about to hit the wall, and we keep driving. We step on the gas and hope maybe we'll get through this 20-foot thick wall. Okay, so that's it. And we're right at the bottom of the hour. And as usual, I'm not going to take any questions or comments or thoughts right now. We are going to do I've got to do all the stuff to get myself ready for that. So I will be back with you in 1 minute, and we will be ready to start the catalyst meditation. I think we know the drill by now. We will raise our hands raise our digital hands or raise our meat hands or unmute ourselves. Greg has raised his hand. Oh, I guess I should turn my spotlight off. And welcoming all the other faces to our screen here. And if you want to turn your camera on now after the meditation, you can feel free to do so. But Greg, you are on deck.
Okay. I no, I'm at bat now. I would just like to thank you for
Okay.
um the shadow to light uh explanation with the weekly meditation. My daily companions missed it, but I'm sure you all know where that's coming from. But I really feel the need for something like releasing the shadow, embracing the light in these times. So I was really happy to hear it. And I'm sorry that Lorna Shaw was unable to join us. I invited her because of the topic. She can watch the recording. Hi, Lorna. And anyway, I'm going to turn my camera back off and go back to making salad so that I can have lunch today. But I'll come back if I need to say anything more.
Sounds good. And you can just drop my satellite off at my apartment here. Um, and I've been really torn by as several of you know, like the shadow to light stuff is really, really important at this time for us to elevate our own consciousness out of the mess, out of the morass that we're in. And but also to start talking about the nature of the next society. And this is something that so I decided, why am I trying to bifurcate these things? I'm going to do both of them. So I'll have two, and I've done this before and it's been really successful. I'm doing two workshop series that will run tandem with each other. And on one, I'm still working out the details. On one day, we're going to have a truncated version of Releasing the Shadow, Embracing the Light. I think this is we're gonna try to make it 4 weeks, which is gonna be really blasting through it, but y'all can do it. And then the next day will be catalyzing the ecstatic society. Can we create a society that is based on the highest possible principles that we can muster? Can we create a society and a civilization that's based on ecstasy, on what I call ordinary ecstasy, the ecstasy of just living your life at the absolute fullest level? And working on a new booklet about this. I don't think it's going to be a whole book, but I'm going to try to get that into publication as quickly as I can, so that we can start counteracting some of this stuff. I'm not seeing any other microphones going hot. I'm not seeing. Oh, and Janet just flashed her hand. Just she went, hey. So let me finish that thought, and then let me get to you, Janet. I was at a coffee house last night, no, yesterday afternoon, and and Leanna waved and said goodbye. Um, um, I was at a coffee house, and uh, there are folks having a conversation, and they actually preface the conversation with, "Let's sit over here by these tables, away from Sharif, because we know he doesn't want to hear this." And they spent the next hour talking about Donald Trump. A full hour. What did he do today? What about the tariffs? What about the this is terrible. Our society's going right down the tubes. And at the and the whole hour, I am working, getting the flyer out for you, setting up the videos, finding the slides that you just saw. And at the end of the hour, I walked over and says, "Okay, let me tell you what I accomplished. I got, the flyers out, I got it. What did you accomplish in the last hour?" And they just look at each other, and then they kind of looked at me, and they look back at each other and say, "Yeah, that's what I thought." You know, we have the ability to create a whole new society right now, and we're not going to do it. We're not doing it. Janet, oh no, I'm sorry. They're not doing it. We're doing it right here. So, Janet, what's up with you?
It's all we. It's all we.
The other table, right?
Well, I went to our April 5th demonstration here in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I'd like to share my experience, which was quite different from what you heard, Sharif. Eh, what I taking away from my experience is that the old protest marches are morphing to something that is bringing in more light. When I was walking toward the crowd of people, I could just feel excitement in the air. People were smiling, laughing. People had made such incredibly creative, funny signs. All the signs were homemade. They were all different. And people were running across the street to tell each other, I love your sign. And there was such a feeling of camaraderie, and it was magnetic. We were on a major road, and the cars going by had their they rolled down windows, started honking. The kids were leaning out of the windows, waving. Whenever a car honked, just a roar, cheer went up from all the demonstrators. It just built. I haven't had so much fun in ages, and it it felt like I felt like a different person when I went home. I felt so much lighter. I felt so much companionship. So I feel like what we created added to the balance of light on the planet. And maybe we'll be seeing more of this. If I had to summarize what all the signs together were saying, I would say that the core message was power to the people.
As you were talking, I'm actually listening to you. I am also looking really, really quickly, and I probably can't find it. Let me say, oh, maybe I found it. No, sorry. Okay, that this is important too, but I'll for another day. First of all, my reading of what was happening was based on me talking to people on Saturday. I didn't go to any of the demonstrations, but I talked to people after the demonstrations, and people, I mean, this is Portland, demonstration country here. And it was same old crowd, same old signs. Just wipe the dust off the sign and kind of wave it around again. And there was, like I said, a kind of a compounding of despair. What you are talking about, and you just reminded me of, is something different that has happened in the past. Oh, I may be able to find it again. I'm searching through my computer right now, but you got to get the right tags here. Um, and it's not demonstration. It's people coming out and holding the energy of a new society.
Well
And
put.
we've seen it in a number of different societal structures. The first biggest and most dramatic was what they called the Velvet Revolution in Czechoslovakia. where people just simply stopped doing the old society and started doing the new society right there in the middle of the street. Okay. And they did this in the first wave of the demonstrations that were taking place in throughout the Middle East. The demonstrations that were happening in what they call the Orange Revolution in Ukraine, um, and so I have this really quick PowerPoint that I can't find. Okay, so this will be a few points from my memory that you can tell the difference between the two. And generally, you can tell the difference whether people are smiling or not. When people are smiling when they come out and when they're actually looking and interacting with each other, that's when it turns into this other thing. And people will stay out weeks and weeks, months and months if necessary. It becomes self-sustaining until they win. And there really isn't a against energy. It's like we're all going that way. We hope you, government, and hope you, police, hope you, armies, etc., come with us. This is where you see the scenes of people giving roses to the police or giving roses to the soldiers, etc. This is where you see those folks actually participating in the demonstrations, etc. And one of the things that comes out of that, and again, this is not in an American context, this is in a world context, was that people start using the national symbols of the society as a measure of literally coming together and being in unity. And I'm thinking particularly what they called the Cedar Revolution that was in Lebanon at one time, where everybody is waving the national flag as a sign that we're together, that we have to change our nation. Okay. There's more to it than that, and I will find it, and I will maybe do a short video on it. But yeah, so I am glad Charlottesville did that. I think it's telling that on the media, we didn't see any of that, you know. I think that the media is steering us away from things like that and steering us into the things that would infuriate the other, whoever your other may be, and depress the energies that are there. We can start thinking about how to use that energy. I mean, it's there for us to be used, for us to use. Yeah, how can we start using that energy? Oh, okay. I'm going too long, but yeah, good point. Thank you. And I see that Jenna's got her hand up, and she's probably going to turn her microphone on so we can hear her. There you go.
Good morning. Janet, Your share took me back in time a bit. I live not too far from you and in Maryland. And I've been in Maryland for a number of decades. And in that period of time, only twice have I been in DC for some type of movement or event. And the first one I went to was back in 2003, right before the beginning of the bombing for the Iraq War, the second Iraq War. Now, there were a lot of people that were showing up in anger, in that energy of against something, fight against. And I was with a group that started at the National Cathedral wearing white armbands because we were walking in peace. Our whole intent was to bring a different consciousness. And it was quite an experience of showing up in that way amid all the other consciousness and emotions and energies that were going on. And we walked from the National Cathedral down to, I think it's Lafayette Park. And that was a learning experience. And what I really felt, but I always sort of known, is that for me, the protest approach is that of fight. It's of contrary energies. It's the I'm right, you're wrong. And the other side is saying, no, I'm right, you're wrong. And it's at the level of the condition. So it has no way of transforming into something greater than what happens when it's that pushing back against each other. Then in 2017, gosh, it's been that long, after the inauguration, the day afterwards was the Women's March in DC. And for weeks in advance, I said, no, I'm not going because I remember that other event I went to, and I don't want to be in that protest energy. But a week before the event, I decided to go from the standpoint of let me go as a point of consciousness that is other than that negativity, that fight, that pushback. What happened at that event was remarkable. And it is similar to what you described, Janet, in Charlottesville last weekend. Everybody was respectful. The police were supportive and friendly. Never once, I mean, they know that there were at least 1 million people on the mall that day. And never once was my foot stepped on. There were cables all around, and everybody was just spontaneously, if somebody needed to move, sort of helping them to step across cables. There was such a tangible experience of unitedness. And I think the difference was there was a focus on what people were for, not what they were against. And it was so tangible. There were so many people there and I was nowhere close to the platform because what I heard afterwards was there was a lot of negative talk from the platform or protest talk from the platform. And I'm grateful I wasn't anywhere close to that. There was to be a point when the march was to start moving, but there were so many people there. It was like, no, this is it. We are it right here, right now. We don't have to move anywhere. And yet, people were moving. The lines to the porta pots were like 40, 50 people deep. And yet everybody was gracious and pointing and saying, oh, that one just opened up. Go ahead. There was joy. There was a togetherness that wasn't spoken. It was just the consciousness that entered the field of energy. And it wasn't until afterwards, two things happened. one, I'm not going to go there because it's, it starts to be in separation. What I found out the day afterwards is that there were similar events all over the world, including in Antarctica. And so that was the first, for me, tangible experience of a human consciousness that was that pervasive worldwide in that moment. And I hold that as a vision for people to start shifting into that affirmational way of approaching something we feel needs to change. Thank you.
Well, number one, thank you. Number two, you hit several of the points that I make in this very short PowerPoint that I would like to share with you. It's going to take maybe 4 or 5 minutes, but you'll see the points that that you just said and Janet just said in the PowerPoint. So without further ado here, no more ado. So and again, I've done this in around the world, so this is not just an American perspective here. So people have been rising up, and again, you can see I mean, like lots and lots and lots of people. Okay, in Ukraine, people basically overthrew their country's government. They stayed out on the streets in sub-freezing weather, days and nights, and how the crowd fed themselves, how they housed themselves. Was this is an example of holonic energy. This is how holonic energy happens. So Lebanon, the Cedar Revolution, the same thing. This is really this is a great photo. I could say these two soldiers are looking up on the top of the building. Which ones do we shoot? Like, when you have an outpouring of humanity at that level, the violence of the other side becomes meaningless. And as Jenna, just as you said, the people report there's no front, there's no back, there's no center to the activity. The activity is the people themselves. The Rose Revolution in Georgia, people of different ethnicities coming out and all of them supporting each other. Okay, so these are the elements. Massive outpouring of people, a broad spectrum of the public, too many people for the government to kill. The young and the old are together, the left and the right are together. In the angry demonstrations, you have narrow interest groups. In the people power revolutions, it's overwhelmingly nonviolent. There's no need for violence. In the angry demonstrations, there's actual violence or the possibility of violence, no commitment to nonviolence. And even if there is a call for nonviolence, there are groups inside the demonstrators that are committed to violence, and found that to be true right here in Portland. And we can talk about that if you want to. The people power revolutions make a conscious effort to connect to the other for support. While in the angry demonstrations, there's blaming and attack of the other. The people power revolutions have purposeful action, but it's not led by anyone. I didn't have the word holonic at the time, but these energies are holonic. The action is spontaneous. The leaders are only catalysts. They don't start the action, and they also can't stop it. They sometimes can steer it a little this way and a little that way, but generally the group is acting on its own. In the people power revolutions, there's short, focused, powerful agenda. Once you win, go home. Okay. Now, in the angry demonstrations, there's no winning. You know, getting together and calling Donald Trump a jerk. What do you win from that? What do you get from that? Okay. Um, and in the people power revolutions, the triggering event can mobilize people for a positive change. So the thing that brings you out may look negative, but the thing that you stay for is this positive result. The actions are targeted to the center of power, like one thing that happened that was happening in Portland, that I was seriously not happy about was, and I don't even remember what the cause is, but people were getting out on the I-5 expressway and blocking traffic. Now, I was in the blocked traffic. I was not happy. I was late for an appointment. Like I had an important appointment, late for the appointment, and my bladder was filling up. I need to get off the highway and pee. And I'm like, what all they're doing? I'm basically sympathetic with their issue, but right now I'm pissed off, because no, I'm not pissed off. Okay, stop it. Y'all just keep making me laugh. Okay. In the people power revolutions, people are aware that they're making history. People are aware that they're doing the impossible. I'm thinking about the civil rights demonstrations. I'm thinking about the Velvet Revolution. I mean, people are saying that you can't stop the Soviet Union and you can't stop them with nonviolent protests. And the answer is, oh, yes, you can. Sure. Yeah, no problem. In fact, we can make them disappear. I want us to hear that. We can make the Soviet Union, the second largest superpower in the world, just disappear. Disappear like that sock disappeared off my foot. Disappear like the car keys. We can make it disappear. Okay. People use potent symbols. The national symbols belong to the people, not to the government. And then, most importantly, there is passion. The movement is sustained by people's energy alone. No organization or direction is necessary or even possible. It is sustained by this positive, future-oriented energy. These are the winners. This is what people look like when they're in the middle of winning. Okay. Now, this is not angry at anyone. This is not protesting anyone. This is the good stuff. Okay. And ending with Victor Hugo, greater than the tread of many armies is an idea whose time has come. Okay. I had absolutely no intention of doing that. I'm glad that it's still lingering in my computer somewhere. I will put that up somewhere so that you can. I'll put this in a Google Slides, and I'll put the link in the goodie box. That nobody's come up with a better answer, that better title for. Okay, folks, it's still a goodie box. I hope somebody gets upset about that enough to actually rename it, or suggest a renaming. And yes, I think I'll put that up somewhere so that you can access it, because I think this is really cool stuff. I'll also put up the email I received from a friend who was in Kiev for the Orange Revolution and talking about it um, in um, in an email to me, and it sounded so much like holonic activity. You should read the email. And I am going to turn on my put on my glasses. And so I saw that Jenna says, "Where's the goodie box?" This is in the outline, the at the bottom of what I read every day and every week. And when you go to the bottom of it and keep going, scrolling down, you'll see the goodie box. I've been talking about separating it and like having two different things, the outline here and the goodie box there. And I haven't done that. Give me till this afternoon to put this stuff up. One of the things that I have to do, oops, so Daisy, doing this wrong. Move this out to there and move this over to here. One of the things I have to do is reprocess this what we're in the middle of doing right now for the 7 p.m. crowd. People actually are watching at 7 p.m. I'm going to start doing this differently. I'll do the live stream for today, but I think I'm just going to post the video of today, and just have time where from 7 p.m. until whenever people can access the video. It doesn't have to be on a live stream. I'm noticing even as people are on the live stream, there's some of them are tuning in, tuning out, tuning in, tuning out. So I think they want more control over the video than they've got on the live stream, which is really acts like a live stream. So we'll see how this goes. This is about as fluid as I can make it, and we'll see how it morphs into the future. Any other questions, comments, thoughts, opinions? I find it really interesting, and I really like the way that this our informal time manifests itself. Like I obviously had I didn't even remember the name of the video that I just gave you, which is why it's really hard to find things when you don't have the name. But I got it eventually, and so it's somewhere. I mean, we're able to find. I was able to find it and share that with you. Any other questions, comments, thoughts, opinions, musings? I'm going to start my beauty queen wave. Somebody's going to sue me for this. You got to be a beauty queen in order to do the wave. Okay. I hope next week my laughing won't be nearly as painful. And thank you so much for your participation. Look forward to seeing you next week. If not earlier. And thank you to the daily meditation regulars who are holding the energy on a daily basis for this. Jenna, I think I just saw your microphone go hot here, so another comment?
Just to say thank you.
Well, thank you. And I look forward to seeing, hearing, interacting with all of us next week. Talk to you later. Bye. See you.